And we're back with another episode of Your Visionary Podcast. I'm your host, Christian Brown, also known as Visionary Siege. And today we have another special episode for you, reporting live from Paris, France. And today is the season finale of season 3. And I am welcomed by my brother, my business partner, my strategist, my friend, Mike McCullum. How you doing, my brother?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. I'm glad you're here. And it's only right that you are here because, like I said, this is the season 3 finale. And for season 4, I have invited a co-host, my brother Mike, to help me with this next season as we dive deeper into Web3 and talk about the metaverse and also the role that mental health plays in that. But really, this episode is just to kind of catch you up as a listener on why Mike is here and why he is the co-host for this next season of Your Visionary Podcast. I'm excited for you guys to get to know him and to just build with him and with us as we continue to grow this podcast and just continue to have global impact. You know, we're just coming off a global world tour, visionary world tour, man. Yeah. Mike is from Mississippi, and so we work in the metaverse weekly. He's from Mississippi, me from Paris, and so you finally came to Paris, and we went to Spain, we went to Egypt, we went to, Spain and Egypt.
That's all we did.
Egypt, Paris.
Yeah. Spain, Egypt, and Paris.
And so that's a lot. I mean, that's a lot, and that was like your first real time, international trip.
Yeah.
And so I know that was an amazing experience for you. But I want you to just tell your story and kind of talk about how you got to where you are now, and then we'll dive deeper into just where we are today and moving forward, where we're going.
Okay, cool. Well, again, thanks for having me, man. Yeah. I have watched the podcast since episode 1, season 1, and right before that episode dropped, you and I were in Atlanta together. I think this was December 2017. You had just been traveling the world a little bit in 2016. And we're also childhood friends. So we grew up together, long time friends. And I was just in a different place in my life at the time. I had just found out in my senior year of college that I was having a baby. And so I went to Atlanta seeking for some of the answers of what I wanted to do next and how I was going to build my life and, just put a plan of action together because everything that I thought I was going to do prior to December 2017 changed, and I had a little girl on the way. So I came and visited you in Atlanta. I was working with my uncle. And we just connected and started talking, you know what I'm saying? Just same visionary, same energy. Although you had traveled the world and we hadn't seen each other for a while, we were still very much so connected. And so during that time, we just hung out and you gave me some information and resources, and you were getting ready to launch season 1. Mm-hmm. And so I came home from the trip. Season 1 dropped that January, I believe. Yeah. And I remember calling you every episode, like, just to dive a little deeper, because that was just, season 1 and 2 is about just establishing a vision for your life and, how do you want to live and, just creating a life that you want to live in a time where I was really trying to figure out what that life was for me. But I was very impacted by the podcast during that time. And then you and I just stayed in close contact throughout the years. And then, things developed. I graduated college, got a good job, began taking care of my daughter, got busy with that. And then, let's just fast forward to, about a year ago. What was that? No, this January 2022.
So 6 months ago,
6 months ago. We had hung out tons of times before then. But you were getting ready to leave for Paris, and I drove from Mississippi to come see you and spend the weekend with you before you left. And on the first day of this year, you and I climbed Stone Mountain and went out to set some goals and intentions for what we wanted out of this year. And at the top of that list was taking a visionary world tour all across Europe. And we did exactly that. It was a beautiful trip. Spain was unplanned, but it was perfect, exactly what it was. The timing couldn't have worked out better.
Yeah.
We were just completely in flow from the beginning, and so now, we put the plan together, worked on it, met in the metaverse weekly, continued building on that, working on Blimish, building that out together. And then now, we're here in Paris after a world tour, after we've been to Egypt and back. My first experience out of the country internationally, just, to see it was just eye-opening, life-changing, just, something I've never experienced before, but I feel like I'm a better human because I've done it, and I got a little bit more perspective now. So I'm just excited for what we have coming next in season 4, continuing to work and build and grow as young men and as leaders. Our moms have prophesied over us for years that we were just born leaders and we were going to impact the world in a very special way. So shout out to Cora Brown and Tanya McCullum for putting all of those gems into us so we can do the work that we're doing now and trying to help with global healing, trying to help give people tools and resources that they need for mental health, and show a different side of what success looks like. We have reached a place of that I never thought I'd be, of just doing impactful work with one of my closest friends, shooting content, just living, experiencing life. So, I guess that's all I got for where we've been.
Yeah, and that's very well said, and I think that your story, relates a lot to my story and also relates a lot to a lot of our listeners' stories, right? Because I think everyone was born with like a vision and a purpose, right? And one of our purposes is to figure out why we're here, and it's a tough thing to do, right? And for me, traveling helped me, widen my perspective and just be exposed to different cultures to really just show me like what I'm here to do.
How many countries have you been to now?
Man, 18.
18.
I've been to 18.
18 countries.
Been to 18 countries, but my first time traveling was in 2016, and I came to Paris. And so it's really super full circle for me, just going there, Paris being my first international experience, and then living here now. It's just, it feels so surreal, but it's like I'm still only looking forward. Like we went to Egypt, and I'm like, yeah, that was dope. Like I haven't been to Egypt yet, haven't been to Cairo, but there are so many other places. And I think just moving here made me realize and just made it more clear that there are really no boundaries, with where you can go and who you can meet, who you can connect with. And I think I've been blessed to understand the value of relationships at this at this stage, and through the podcast helped a lot. The podcast was very well put together from the beginning, and I'm sure that there was a team of people helping do that, and the relationships you had, and even like the relationships that we established along the way on this trip, and some of the tests and trials that we went through just on the trip to be here, and that's so synonymous of like the journey of life that we're all going on, because everyone has an event that is some adversarial event or some adversity that we're faced, and then we're deciding how we're going to react to it and the type of attitude we're going to have about it, and then what is going to unfold next. We said something on the trip is redirection is God's protection, and so every time that we got redirected, we were protected from something bad happening and or whatever could have happened, but also redirected, and the outcome was better than we could have even thought that it was. And I'll tell the story of we got to Cairo, and we're both energetically sensitive people, right? So walk in a room and feel the energy and know which way to move or shake or something. And when we got to that Airbnb, energy was just off. It was not right. It was not what we thought. We had looked it online, planned everything out, thought it was in the right area, but that energy was off. So that night, even before we even shut our eyes, we had a hotel booked for the next day, and then a new Airbnb booked for the last 3 days of Cairo, and then just went and moved, the way that we should have. And we got to the hotel.
met somebody there, right? Just randomly met somebody there, and then ended up connecting with them. And then the next day, it was the next day, we did the ATV ride with a group of people from the UK that we never would have met if we hadn't gone to the hotel and met Nye there at the hotel. And then just executing on that to say, hey, let's build a relationship, let's talk a little bit. You know, they were at a wedding and did their thing, and we ended up going on the ATV ride, and we'll throw some pictures of that on this podcast. And then watching the pyramids at sunset with a group of people from the UK that felt like family. It was just, you know, an absolutely amazing time. But that just goes to show, like, even my event with having a kid at, you know, 20 when that came out, I mean, it's led to an extremely beautiful life for me since then, and taking care of my daughter and living life with her and on purpose and being there and, you know, pursuing entrepreneurial dreams and whatever else it is. You know, I'm just so thankful for the way everything has turned out, really, to get us here, to be shooting the podcast as a once listener of just sitting there watching, like, dang, that's fire. And now I'm here helping you know, do season 4. So
it's amazing, bro. And there's so many lessons, like, in all stories, but just the story with Cairo, I think me been experiencing as well, and just looking back at it, I see the lessons that were in there. And the first lesson is just to be aware, right? And you know, I love how you use the word energetically sensitive. Like, I always say that, you know, to describe myself too. And I think one lesson is that it's good to act as soon as you feel something not right. Because I think a lot of times, like, some people, they may feel something isn't right, but just keep going along with it, maybe hoping that something will change. Right. But, you know, faith without action is dead. You know, so you have to take action. That's one thing we did. And as soon as we felt the energy, we're like, okay, let's go ahead and boom, check to see what our next location
got
is.
Got there at midnight and didn't go to sleep till.
It didn't even matter what time it was. It was like, okay, this energy is more important than, like, this energy affects all of the rest that we're going to have.
The whole trip. You know,
energy affects the whole trip.
And our safety and feeling safe in the environment, energy. And as soon as we got out of that, got to the hotel, energy was different, high vibrational vibes the entire time, and then we had an extremely high vibrational trip in Cairo.
Exactly, and then that leads me to the second lesson, which is when the energy is right, you'll know.
You're right.
when the energy is right, you'll feel that. You'll feel that, and that adds momentum. And momentum is just a super, super high energy that allows you to, it just gives you added energy. Right, and I'm glad we're doing this episode now. You know, this is the last day. This is your last night in Paris, bro.
Last night in Paris.
You go back tomorrow, and so just doing this episode is going to give us momentum to go and have a nice dinner tonight. You know what I'm saying? You're going to check in a hotel because it's 100 degrees in Paris right now.
100 degrees.
And one thing that I learned, you know, moving to Paris is that when you live on the top floor of an apartment complex, you probably won't have AC. And so it gets toasty up there. Very uncomfortable. But it's lesson learned. But yeah, man, that I think those are really two good lessons just from that story. And then I'll share the second story of just the altercation.
Oh man,
I'll share that. Yeah, I'll share that story, bro, because you could watch it. I was in it. You could watch it. Yeah. It was crazy, and I was thinking back, like, dang, what if you would have recorded that whole thing? Because it was just so crazy. So I have a friend that lives in Cairo. We met in Madrid, you know, during my travels in 2017. We stayed in contact, and now she lives in Cairo. And so she was just an amazing host.
Amazing.
Shout out to Ursula.
Shout out to
Ursula.
Daddy, my boy.
Daddy, you know.
Yeah, and Naida. Come on,
man.
Now,
the whole gang, our family in Cairo now.
Cairo family.
Our Cairo family.
For sure.
And so Ursula welcomed us in her home. You know, introduced us to her flatmates, and it was just an amazing time. But on our first night or second night, she invited us to it was supposed to be a cafe.
And let's just go ahead and preface, when someone says cafe in Cairo and cafe that I'm thinking of in America, Those are
or Paris.
Or Paris. You know,
two different
things. I'm thinking Wi-Fi, coffee shop,
Vibes.
chilling, Starbucks, drinking my coffee, and we're on the side of a mountain, posted up on some rocks and books, and you know what I'm saying?
On the side of a mountain, just a cliff and sand and rocks. And so when we get out there, it's not really that lit up. Like, it's not, you know, a street with a bunch of lights. It's dark. It's dark, and so we don't know where we're at, but we just go and and take a piss just along the sand somewhere. But then below the cliff there was a guy and his girl, and I don't know if there was a child there too.
No, it's just, I think it was him and a lady.
It was him and a lady.
And it seemed like she was sick or some sort. And we were kind of like pissing off the cliff, but it's dark and we black, so it's like, y'all didn't see us, right? We ain't trying to be disrespectful or nothing. Right. And I was taking some pictures from, you know, the cliff, because I mean, we're looking over the whole city of Cairo. Yeah. The views were absolutely beautiful. We'll throw these pics up too, because the views were, I mean, breathtaking to see the entire city of Cairo lit up at night. But go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, so boom, that's happening, and then the guy starts yelling from down the cliff, and he's speaking Arabic. You know, Egypt is the Arabic country, and so we don't know what he's saying, and so we just keep walking. But then Buddy comes up the hill, and then starts yelling at us and like charging, right? And then he ends up getting close to our, like super close to us. But as we're walking, right, there's a group of five or so Egyptians in a circle, like smoking, drinking. All right, quick break into action to give a special shout out to our sponsor, Blimish. Blimish is a first of its kind virtual wellness ecosystem, and together we're on a mission to change the way the world views mental health and therapy. So go to blimish.com right now, and you'll be able to put your email in to join the waitlist and receive weekly motivational emails and also updates for when the product launches. Go to blimish.com, sign up, and you're on the list. Back to the episode. So, Buddy comes up. We're walking towards the group of Egyptian people, Egyptian men. It's all men, and we're like, "Yo, we don't." And I think they could see like that we didn't really know what's going on. And of course, we look American, and so, Buddy comes over. He comes closer, and I go out the way, and then while he's yelling, he picks up a big rock and slings it at me, throws it at me. So I move more out the way, and I'm just like, "What's going on?" And I'm just observing this, the situation. And then he gets closer to you, and now it's just him grabbing you, and the Egyptian guys grabbing you as well, trying to pull you back. And I go back up there, and we're just in this experience, him yelling at us, and it's all a different language. So imagine that, like not knowing how to communicate, just like feeling the energy, which is crazy. And so one of the Egyptian guys spoke English, and so he was like, "Give me a second, I'm gonna talk to him." And so he talked to the guy, and the guy thought we were taking pictures of him and his girl, so he wanted to see our phone to make sure that we weren't. And so we showed him, and then squashed it, but still the energy was super high. And
that was a real Egyptian experience. Like when we showed we told our friends about that, he's like, "Oh yeah, like welcome to Egypt," right?
Welcome to Egypt.
And so as we were walking around the street, we see people like holding each other, fussing, you know what I'm saying, going back and forth. Their language is just very intense when they're talking.
It is.
And so even when they could be having regular conversation, like you can feel the energy just intensify back and forth. But we made it out of there alive, right? I was just thinking, like, if I'm gonna have to get on this man, because I'm going home to my daughter regardless, like I'm gonna have to get on down on him. But we made it out. We sat on the side of the hill, got with Ursula and Bendetti, and then we just chilled with them for a while and sat on the cliff and got some drinks at the cafe and chilled.
Tea.
What we do after that?
After that, we went to the older Egyptian club.
Went to the spot.
The Egyptian spot. It was an old bar cafe, more like an old bar vibe. There was a lot of old Egyptian men in there, young people too, young Egyptians too, but just drinking beer, smoking cigarettes, having a good time. We'll throw some pictures up there too. But we were just chilling, having the Egyptian experience.
Real Egyptian experience,
and
yeah.
It was just so interesting. You know, the culture was just completely different, which is one of the great things about traveling. You just experience different cultures, and it gives you a new perspective of your own culture.
Right.
Too.
Right.
It just opens and expands your mind, which I think is so important, and why I think that the metaverse can be helpful for people as they grow in their experiences. Because the metaverse also gives you a different perspective, right?
Does,
so you see,
does.
we got the Oculus. Shout out to Oculus back there, and I don't want to get too much into the metaverse, but season 4 is really where we dive deep into what the metaverse is. How do you get into the metaverse? How is it going to help? How is it going to help you? What's in it for you? Right? A lot of people ask that when they just take on new products and new experiences.
And
like, what's in it for me?
A lot of people think it's just a game. It's a toy, like a game system.
A lot of people think it's a toy.
We use it as our office, our meeting place. We hit golf balls in there. You know, whatever else that we do.
It's a tool.
It's a tool that can be used just like your cell phone. And just being aware of what tools. I want to go back to what you were saying about experience different cultures. Because I realize how in America we have such an individualistic culture, right? Everything is about the individual. You go out to eat, you order your plate, you eat your plate, that's it. You know what I'm saying? That's how you do it.
Right.
Whereas we're out here experiencing Egypt and Egyptian culture, it's come in, we're gonna order a whole bunch of food, everybody just eat a little bit, and like it's kind of more like a family dinner.
Right.
And I love that feel because, you know, Ursula was an amazing host to us. And really got to see how different the culture is when, you know what I'm saying, when you're experiencing. And that's a little flavor you can take back to your house, right? And I want to take back to America. Have dinners and, you know what I'm saying, just eat a whole bunch of stuff with a whole bunch of people.
Have Egyptian tea.
Yeah, Egyptian tea. I'm taking some home for sure. But yeah, that was the culture shock of being in Cairo after leaving Paris. Right, we started in Spain. Like as soon as I got off the plane in Paris, we went to Spain and stayed there. Spain was amazing. Right, it was an amazing time. Only 2 quick days there, but you know, a big high energy in Spain. Beautiful, beautiful, you know, sights to see, historical, you know, buildings, monuments, the way that they built the city. People were beautiful. And then go to Paris for a couple of days and have that experience, and then to Cairo, right? And this is my first time out the country, so it was a lot for me to take in and experience at once. I didn't know what to expect in Cairo, but we told you the story. It was intense, and then from there, you know, just we were continuously protected the rest of the trip, and it turned out to be beautiful. I want to talk a little bit about our meeting with Ashraf at 07, because that was. I mean, that was one of the highlights of the trip, really. It was. In Egypt.
Very high highlight. And basically, man, when we figured out we were going to Cairo, I think it was a couple of days before, really, we were just like, okay, let's hop on LinkedIn, hop on Instagram, let's try to find some people we can connect with and collab with. Because, bro, for me, LinkedIn has been a major tool and resource just for me in my journey. You know, I ended up connecting with a lady in Paris, you know, while I was still in school, a senior. I started reaching out to people in Paris, and I connected with this one woman, and she helped me get to Paris. And so I know how valuable, you know, LinkedIn is as a relationship tool. And so we both just went on LinkedIn, started seeing who we can connect with, simply typing like podcast in Egypt. I typed in mental health Egypt or mental health Cairo, and then a guy's profile came up, Ashraf, who is the CEO of 07 Therapy. And so I just sent him a message like, hey, you know, looking forward to connecting. He replied, said, you know, same. And shout out to him for replying. That was major. That lets me know that it was meant to be. Right? But he replied, and I told him we were coming to Cairo for 4 or 5 days, and, you know, is it possible if we stop and get a coffee? So I figured out a time, and boom, he scheduled the meeting. And so we pull up to his office, which was really cool because it was only a few minutes away from Ursula's place. Right. So we were familiar with that side of town. And so we pull up to his office, just a clean vibe, good energy. and we ended up meeting for an hour and a half almost. And the meeting was only scheduled for 45 minutes, but in a meeting for an hour and a half, just having an amazing conversation, talking about life, talking about business, talking about responsibilities, just talking about the intentionality and the successes and failures as an entrepreneur, and then talked about collaborating, right? Talked about what we're building, and talked about potential collaborations and expansions and potential advisory from him, you know, for Blimish, which is just amazing, and just had an amazing time, bro. So
he talked about like the balance of being a leader, and what type of leader people want to work for. And he talked about how, you know, his wife calls him, he's in a meeting, he steps out, and he has what he needs to have and talk to his wife. His kids need him, he takes days off. Very flexible with his staff to understand that people do have lives, right? And they have important things going on outside of work. And then he was sharing, you know, his journey as a CEO and how that was going, and how he did a startup with a couple of his friends. And it was really high energy. He was just, you know, an amazing host. He did that same thing. What's the guy? The black billionaire in the United States, Robert Smith, right? So when he has like a 10 to 15 minute meeting, right? I think Steve Harvey was talking about, he had a meeting, he said, all right, in 5 minutes, he'll give you 5 more and wait. And at our 45-minute mark, somebody came and knocked on the door. And he kept going. Right, and so he was like, "Yeah, like I'm gonna spend a little bit more time with these guys."
That.
I did peep that. It was really nice to have him on and helping us through, you know, that part of the journey, and then him also sharing, you know, his successes and failures as, you know, a young entrepreneur. Types of things you need going to market. I mean, he really dropped some gems on things that we're going to be going through, launching Blimish here in the next year or so. But yeah, he just great energy. Really appreciated the conversation with Ashraf. And you know, although Cairo was, you know, an experience, I'm ready to go back and see it again, because and Ursula said this, and I'm gonna give it to her because she was right. You know, we experience the beautiful parts of chaos and the most beautiful parts of sorrow, because in America we think everything's a happy ending. You know, everything's beautiful, it's all going to work out at the end. But she was like, no, it doesn't.
All right, another break in the story, but this time I want to tell you about the Your Visionary podcast store, which is a store that we've created with a bunch of different products, different merchandise, all designed to help you get closer to the vision you have created for your life. And what we're doing here is that we're making the movement tangible. We're giving you tangible products that you can put in your house, that you can wear, that you can put in your office, all with either the Your Visionary podcast logo or special graphics that give off a positive energy. And also on there, you'll find our positive energy bracelets, which have been specially charged with different energies based on what the saying is on the bracelet. But really what we're trying to do here is spread positive energy all around the world. And so you supporting us and buying this merchandise is a way for you to get your own positive energy and put it wherever you want, but to also give it as a gift to others. So go to yourvisionarypodcast.com/store. And you'll be directed to the Your Visionary Podcast store, and just go crazy. Get whatever you want. Get some for your family, get some for your friends, get some for yourself, but have fun. Thank you for watching. Back to the episode.
Let's talk about the pyramids and that experience, because a part of our meeting on the mountain, January 2022, was a vision that had been given to me of seeing myself in an all-white Galabea standing on the pyramids with a red, you know what I'm saying, scarf on. And I saw that clear as day. I felt like something was calling me there. And that's very synonymous, because we both have read The Alchemist, one of our favorite books. And his journey was to get to the pyramids, and we journeyed ourselves there. Yeah. But the process of becoming that took us to get here for the past 6 months, to be able to go on a trip like this and to be clear of mind and heart and to experience and to be clear, was really a journey in itself before the journey, you know what I'm saying? And just to fulfill that experience and to be on that ground, and that just the energy was so high. Like when you're standing in the pyramids and you don't really understand the scale of how these 5 to 6 ton blocks were placed perfectly in between each other, no air escaping. Yeah. And it's just it's beautifully constructed, and it was just an amazing experience.
And the rocks are stone.
Stone.
Yeah. Blocks of stone.
Blocks of stone. And then so we didn't buy tickets to go inside the pyramid. Yeah. We just had tickets for the perimeter, and our tour guide took us to that. Shout out to Nerman.
Shout out to Nerman.
Yeah, big tour guide. But I was just walking, saw a ticket on the ground, picked it up. I was like, what's this? I'm gonna just pick up an extra ticket, just one for keepsake, you know? And then by the time we make it around the mountain, I hand them my ticket. And it's like, you got access to, the pyramid. And they let me go right in, and they didn't let you in. So I'm like, oh man, like we together, we got the same ticket. I'm not knowing that the ticket I picked up was the one. I'm thinking we had the same access. And so I go, and I'm like, yo, I got to go see this for the both of us. I'm going to shoot the video and show everybody.
Yeah. So we'll put the video in.
Yeah, put the video there. And like the climb in there all the way to the tomb was just hot and small. And like, you know what I'm saying? I almost quit halfway through. I was like, bro, it's too hot. Like, man, CJ ain't in here. But I'm like, I got to make it to the top. Like, I'll never be here again, really, but I will. And then I made it all the way to the tomb, and it's like sacred and quiet, and there's only like one guy up there, and you take your pictures and be quiet. But that was just a beautiful experience to have. Just like the vibrations of the entire day were high. We rode camels out there, you know what I'm saying? Just the whole nine.
Yeah. That's crazy. It was definitely a magical experience, just being that close to something that you've only seen, in movies, in pictures, and in visions. Right, in visions. And so it was just very powerful and, very high energy. And so it was just a great experience. And man, we ended up coming back to Paris. As soon as we came back to Paris, we went to a conference. Went to a tech conference, Viva Tech.
After all that traveling, we still had to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's crazy because, just to give some context, so Wednesday night, our flight was at 3 a.m. Our flight from Egypt to Paris was at 3 a.m. And so we landed at 7:45 a.m. in Paris. And so we slept I slept a little bit on the plane. You had
no sleep on the plane.
You didn't get any sleep on the plane. And so we land in Paris, and we go shower and get dressed and then hit the conference. And it's just so much energy going from Cairo to being in a conference with had to be at least 20,000 people.
Yeah, Arlen Hamilton was there. Like, amazing.
The president was there.
The president of France was there.
The president of France was there. I mean, it was huge.
It was just, we talked about proximity is influence.
Proximity is influence.
And just getting yourself in the room and knowing how to behave and to be able to, continue to build on what you're trying to do. And I think even like the energy that we got from being in the room is going to help us a lot on this journey of building out Blimish and, just continuously evolving as young men and leaders. I mean, the success part of it will come, you know what I'm saying, the monetary success of that. But I really like how Gary Vee talked about redefining the way that we define success. Right. In America, it's all about how much money. And I saw so clearly in Egypt how people care a lot about the sentimental things, the family, the time spent with friends, just connecting with people, living a life to where you can do that. And I don't know if the video cut off before I said this, but like in Cairo, we saw like the most beautiful parts of chaos and sorrow. Right, and that was something Ursula had said, and I was like, no, I don't want to say that it was sorrowful, but like it really was. There were some things that were sorrowful in that, and it was it's the real experience, right?
Yeah.
Like
And then sorrow is also not a bad thing. Like when we think of sorrow, we think of just negativity and sadness. But when Ursula explained it, I got it. And she's from Spain. She's, European. And so she said like the Europeans look at sorrow as romanticism.
Right.
Because it's like the pain and the lowness. Like there's beauty in that. And I saw that clearly and I was like, wow, you're right. That is a beautiful part of life because it is life.
You can't know beauty until you've seen something ugly. Like you gotta see both sides, and you can't be happy without sorrow. You know what I'm saying? Without times of like not feeling your best or experiencing certain things that are negative. So yeah, I mean, it was a romantic experience. I think there's a very special romance about Egypt, and I think that they're hiding something from us. real talk.
Technology
the ancient technology was so much far advanced, and the history of the circumference of
a lot of
the pyramids and the exact alignment and latitudes they are with other things in the world. I mean, it was just, I felt in flow the entire time I was in Egypt.
Wow.
And flies and flow, like Mahaley Csikszentmihalyi says, is what the balance between discipline and surrender, right? And so, yes, we were disciplined so many ways, but then we completely surrendered our plans. And that's something the Egyptian people say, it's like, I mean, how are we doing this? We're doing this Cairo style or like whatever. It's like, it's just like you down for whatever when you're in Cairo. Just flow. And every part of it just flowed beautifully for us.
Yeah. So, amazing. And I believe everything's going to continue to flow just as we get into this next season of your Visionary podcast, and we just dive deeper into the technology, but also talking more about mental health, because we did just we're finishing off season 3, and we're going to have a bonus episode where we recap each episode, each interview with each psychologist. But going back to just sorrow being beautiful, when I think about the mental health journey, I think about like sorrow, and how there's trauma and pain, in everyone's lives, and that pain is not always beautiful in the moment. But I think as you start to grow and learn, I think it starts to make sense, and it starts to become light. And light is a beautiful thing. I mean, and that's part of the journey to global healing, is just turning darkness into light.
That makes me remember Ben Daddy's tattoo.
Daddy's tattoo.
Ben Daddy's tattoo. It says, "There's a light that always shines," or there's a light there was light that never turns off. And it was so interesting because he talked about how he got the tattoo when he was going through a dark time, and the song helped bring them out. And the light that we have, basically like the fire that's inside of us, no matter what type of depressive time we're going through, like there's a light in there. Maybe be dim, you may be consumed by darkness, but if you find that little bit of light and you begin to add a little fuel to it, that darkness can disappear that fast, right? It can be gone, because it's like when there's light, darkness has to go away. It cannot stand. And so just kind of keeping that in mind is like, we talk about mental health and like what that means and what those journeys are like, because there's a very big stigma around therapy and going and what that looks like. And Ashraf said something like, somebody who goes to therapy, I look at them as more developed than somebody who doesn't. Somebody who knows that they may have something going on and seeks help to it, rather than somebody who knows they got something and doesn't go seek help. Like there is strength in the vulnerability of needing help, and I think that we really have to get that in our community of showing men that, hey, it's all right that you're not all right. And even though you strong and you tough and you macho, you can't be still better and good for your family, because you think I got to be strong for my family. You can't be the best for them if you're not taking care of yourself. And I think that's something that's special that we're going to be able to revolutionize and to start a revolution around mental health, around visionary lifestyle and what that looks like, and changing the perception of what mental health looks like in the 21st century. Like that's our mission. That's our revolution. Yeah,
that's a revolution, man. And it's just in this podcast, your Visionary podcast is all about helping people find their passion and create a vision for their lives. You know, it happened for me, it happened for you, you know, and it's happened to more people in the world. So thank you for watching this episode. I think we could end it here. Thanks for coming on, my brother.
Yeah, for sure.
And man, make sure you go and watch all of season 3, and season 4 will be out soon.
Yeah.
So we'll see you all on the next episode.
From Paris with Love.
From Paris with Love. Peace and love.
Peace. Yeah, I think we killed that, dog.
Yes, sir.